When you first turn on your machine, your touch screen looks just like this. Now, what happens here in the lighted part of the screen changes depending on what you're doing, but these buttons remain the same. Now, I really like this home button. Let's say, for instance, we're in a different stitch and I want to get right back into straight stitching. All I need to do is push that button. The stitch that's highlighted is going to be your selected stitch. Of course, you can select any other stitch that you want. This is your File Retrieve button. Now I have put things on the memory in this machine. Here's what I have. Here's one of them right there. There it is. Now if I want to get back into straight stitching, I can do that. This just means that what's on the screen is going to be deleted. It'll still be in memory. This is the function button, and it has several things that it does. Quick select is one of my favorite things. Let's say I want to do this serpentine stitch. It's number 8 in Q for quilting. So I push the Q, push number 8, push OK, and there I go. Quilt Block Advisor. This shows 6 different quilt patterns that you can use to make a quilt block. I use this to make my log cabin wall hanging. Now, manual dual feed. This is your dual feed mechanism. And when you put this on your machine, it's like you have feed dogs on the top. Let me show you. When you get into dual feed, up here, it will give you a variety of straight stitches that you can do. But let's say you want to do a more decorative stitch. Let's turn that back off. You would turn this on. And what that does is now you can do all kinds of stitches. Not every stitch, but a lot of variety of stitches you can do, including that serpentine stitch that I showed you earlier. When this is on, you can adjust your dual feed balance to make this pull more or less depending on the thickness of your fabric and how it's stitching out. But when you're done using your dual feed foot, make sure and turn that off so that you have full access to all of your stitches. Machine information, that can be kind of useful. This shows you what software version you have, but this down here shows you how long your machine has actually been on, and this shows how many hours and minutes you've actually done sewing. This is settings. Now I have another video on how to adjust these settings. This shows machine settings, this tab shows sewing settings, and here is your preferred language. Whenever you make a change to the settings, make sure you push OK, not X. X simply gets you out of settings. OK saves any changes that you've made to settings. This question mark here shows you in pictures of how to change different things on your machine and how to set them up. So that's kind of a useful thing. This is your lockout key. Now the lockout key is really useful for safety purposes. Any of these other buttons don't work, but your presser foot lifter button does work. You'll notice it's down when you push this button. To take the needle plate off, we touch this up here. And notice it lifts the foot extra high and makes it so you can take the needle plate right off. So you can change your needle plate easily. And it just drops on, just like that. Let's get out of lockout this way. This window here shows you your stitch that you've chosen. So whether it's zigzag or some other stitch, it shows you the stitch, and it shows you up here the kind of foot that's recommended. These are adjustments for length or needle position, or in the case of zigzag, you can make it wider or narrower, shorter or longer. To get back into default, just reselect your stitch. Notice also I have favorite stitch settings here, which means that I have these favorite stitch settings set up for my zigzag stitch. This is your buttonholes tab. You've got 2 pages for buttonholes. This is your decorative stitch category. Now you have lots of groups here of decorative stitches, and so you would just choose one, find a stitch you like, and go ahead and sew it. This would be great for if you're doing a sequence of stitches, because you can also do a space between stitches and you can do a locking stitch at the end. I've got another video on combinations of stitches. This is your alphabet tab, so you can do block letters, you can do fancy lettering, you can even do some symbols there. Okay, let's get into tapering. Tapering is kind of fun. You can do some fun landscape sort of things like this. And you can turn it around to go this way. And you can see that that kind of looks like some grass growing. Now there are ways that you can change this, changing the angle at the beginning and at the end. Let's change this one to look more like this, or like that, or like this, like that. You can also change the middle to make multiples of this. And so I'm going to go over here. I would like to have that 3 times as long. Go okay. And you can see now it's longer. Okay, tapering can be a lot of fun. Now this little t-shirt is the applications button, and it has 3 different tabs. The first one is for general procedures like blind hem and gathering and tacking. When you push this button, it puts the machine automatically into the stitch that it needs, and it tells you what kind of foot to put on. Let's go back to applications. This tab is for quilting. Now if you want to do patchwork piecing, push that, and it gets you right into 1/4 inch piecing. Just put that foot on and you're good to go. Same thing with free motion. This is how you would get into it. It would show you what stitches are available, and it would also lower your feed dogs for you, which they are right now lowered. Now this is for additional feet that you can purchase. So for instance, if you wanted to do piping or beading or a ruffler, if I chose this stitch, that's what the ruffler looks like. These tabs up at the top. This is for pivoting. What this does is when you're sewing along, when you stop, the needle goes down and the presser foot comes up, making it so you can turn a corner or just take a look at your stitches. Notice that the twin needle button is grayed out. Let's turn that off. The twin needle looks like this. And when you have twin needle on, the pivot function is grayed out because obviously you can't pivot when you have 2 needles down into your fabric. This is for lowering your feed dogs. Right now they're up. I push this button and they go down. So this is a quick way to get into free motion if you want to use the PDH foot, which is your standard free motion foot. Let's put this back up. This is for your dual feed. But notice you can only do straight stitches this way. But I showed you earlier in the function button how you can do more decorative stitches using the dual feed. This is your floating function. Now what this does is it puts less pressure on your presser foot. So you can see I can lift it pretty easily. If you're doing multiple thick layers of denim that you're sewing through, you might want to have that one on. It will help your fabric feed underneath the foot more easily. And also notice most of your other stitches are grayed out. This gives you an expanded view of your stitches. It's kind of nice to see what stitches are available in a quick view like this. You can of course also go to the back of your instruction book. We have several other videos on this machine. If you've enjoyed this video, give us a like. And if you have comments, questions, or ideas for other videos you'd like to see, let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Bye.